We have two of our really top-notch, intelligent, smart people I don't understand because they're so smart at Delta Trust today. The first one is Sean Barron. You've probably heard Sean before if you've been to these. His topic is common sense is not so common, and he's the portfolio manager in our trust department. He's also a certified financial planner and a CFA, so he's pretty darn smart. So I'm going to turn it over to him.
Common sense is not so common. I've given this presentation for probably 5 or 6 years. I'm kind of tweaked it and added slides and subtracted slides, but in some form or another. And I've done it with, I've given it to professionals. I've given it a lot of times at a college level to finance majors. So these are people that senior level, about to get their degrees. And then I've given it to people that are, that don't do anything in the field. And it doesn't matter. It never fails that everyone has the same reaction. So it's not, this is not a, a judgment. It's not a statement of thought processes. It's what this boils down to is it's basically a primer on behavioral finance. And it's a relatively new field. It's based on decision-making processes that basically fail when you apply them into the financial world. They're called heuristics, and your brain learns by processing things quickly based on experience. And when you apply this, it works really well in some areas, like keeping you alive when you're running from a dinosaur or something. But it doesn't really work well with finance. So I'm going to show you guys some of the problems we have, and it's going to be interactive. That's the basics of finance. That's what we learned in school. It took 5 years, and basically this is what I learned. You're supposed to make rational decisions all the time. Emotions are not involved, and we all do this. And then I even learned in an economics course that this new classical view that if the government cuts taxes, you guys won't spend any more because you understand that we're going to have to pay those taxes back sometime in the future. So it doesn't really alter anything, and I'm sure that's how all of us react. So, but we build models based on theories like that, so they break down, obviously. Okay, first interactive thing, it's in your packet. Let me explain this first. I don't want you guys getting ahead of yourselves. Okay. This is a slide. You probably will not know the exact answer. If you do, kudos, you're awesome. Now, here's what you should do. You're going to enter a range. Okay, so I hope you guys have a pen at your table, and I hope you have this. You should be 90% certain that the answer falls within that range. So if you know it exactly, then you don't need a big range, obviously. So I'm going to give you guys a couple of minutes. Just fill that out, put an upper and lower bounds, and okay. 90% certain, we're all going to do well. All right. See how many you got right? Let's see. I'll read them off in case you guys are having trouble seeing. I don't know how small it is from the back of the room. Adult blue whale, 250,000 pounds. Mona Lisa was painted in 1513, 1513. Independent countries at the end of 2000, there were 191. Air distance in miles between Paris and Sydney, Australia is 10,543. How many bones does a domestic dog have? 321. Total combatants killed in World War I was 8,300,000. Books in the Library of Congress was 18 million. The Amazon River is around 4,000 miles. How fast does the Earth spin at the equator? 1,044 miles per hour. Kind of shocking to me, but. And the population of the United States is 313,096,172. All right. All right. So let's see. Basic math says if you're 90% certain, you should have gotten 9 out of 10 on this. So how many people got 9 out of 10? How many people know themselves well? Did anyone get 5 out of 10? 5 out of 10. Carol, there you go. Good job. And she didn't even answer one, so that's like 5 out of 9. Okay. The range was 90% certain. The point of this is, even when you know that you don't know, you're still overconfident. You still think, you pick a number in your head, and then you build some confidence range around that number. Where that number came from, you don't even know. I bet if I really asked you, you wouldn't even know where the number of dogs in the body, you probably related it to number of bones in a human body, and then you said, okay, well, I'll throw a range around it. So even though your original thought was not based on anything, you put more confidence in that thought after you had it. So we all have overconfidence in what we're doing. I'm going to give you guys another chance because I know you're smart. Okay, second chance. Here you go. Write your 1 to a billion. In 1896, the Dow Jones Industrial Average was at 40. End of 1998, it was at 9,181. It's price weighted, which means that dividends are not included. So when a company pays out a dividend, it goes to investors and it doesn't increase the share price. So it pretends like that doesn't exist in the index. All right. If the dividends were included, so let's say we took those dividends and we bought more of the same company, what would the Dow Jones Industrial Average have been at the end of 1998? So 90% certain, jot a number down. You know the game. 90%, not 100. All right, here we go. Everybody ready? 652,230. All right, so if you got it right, raise your hand, be proud. So even though you knew the game, you still, and it happens, trust me. Okay, overconfidence. How many people think they're above average drivers in here? Who's the one who, you guys are the ones that are like having to educate everybody else when you're driving. Okay. In a survey of college students, and we know that they can't drive because they're impaired half the time, 82% of them thought they were above average. If you were to give this in the entire population, it would be well above 50% would think they're above average. Obviously, the definition of average means that they can't be. Now, who does this affect? It affects single men more. And how they measured it was there was a survey done by, I think, Odeon and Barber, and they took a whole bunch of Schwab accounts, and they just looked at the frequency of trading and then who was doing the trading. Single men trade more frequently. Turnover's higher. Married men, second most. Married women, third most. Single women, less. So men think that they know something, and they're going to act on it more frequently. That's kind of what this says. Okay? Good or bad, we don't know. Could be good. Maybe they do know something. So then you've got to break down the numbers. So they looked at returns on all these 2 million accounts that they analyzed. Every group had the exact same return before fees. All of them. They ranked them. They said the top 20% of the traders go in group 1. If you trade a little bit less frequently, you're in group 2. People who don't who don't trade at all are, oops, I flipped it. This one trades the most, this one trades the least. So they're the top 20%, next 20%, 20%. So they just broke it down by that, and then they calculated the net return. The net return, because fees reduce your return, is less for the more frequent traders. And we saw on the previous slide that's typically single men and married men. But everybody had the same gross return. So it didn't matter what you were switching into or out of. What you switched into was no more profitable than what you switched out of. So there was no net profit from that decision. There was a net cost to the trade. So the The next one is fear of regret and seeking pride. And this is, there are movies based around this, but regret is the emotional pain that comes with realizing a previous decision has turned out to be bad. All right? Pride is the joy of realizing that a decision has turned out to be good. I used to coach. I coached for 5 years. I promise you the losses hurt more than the wins feel good. And anybody that is into sports or has a sports fan for a son, husband, whatever, you know this. They get more upset with the loss than they do excited when the win happens. And the same thing. So how does this affect us when we're trading? The regret of omission, there's 2 types of regret. When you took an action and when you didn't take an action. Okay? So if you took an action and it turned out to be bad, or you didn't take an action and it turned out to be bad. So let's give a concrete example. You have a lottery ticket, and you've been picking the same number every week for years. Okay? Not surprisingly, you haven't won. A friend suggests you change to a new set of numbers. All right? So they recommend you switch to, a new set. Now, if you were to switch and your winning number or your old number would hit, that pain would be a lot worse than if they recommended a specific set of numbers and that one hit and you did not switch. Okay? So when you take an action, that pain's a lot worse than when you don't take an action. A lot of people investing in life, we don't take action and we think that we're not making a decision. You made a decision. You made the decision to stay where you were. But for some reason, emotionally, that hurts less than taking that action and then having it turn out poorly. So and we've realized that, so a lot of times we're inactive. And there is a reason for that. You have emotional capital tied up in things. And I think that's a really good phrase for it. You put emotional time and energy. I know you guys have friendships that you put a lot of emotional capital in, and even though they're not benefiting you anymore, you're not giving it up because you felt like you put too much energy in it. And you do the same thing with stocks. You don't want to sell that stock because, I've had it for so long. I feel like I put a lot of energy into watching Walmart, in the charts. And so that's fear of regret. Closely tied to that is the endowment effect. And what this says is you want more to sell what you have than you would pay to get something of equal value. Okay? I kind of think of it as you want your junk, not somebody else's junk. You know your junk. Even if the other junk's a little bit, you still, I want what I hold. They've done this with tests. They've given out, pens, and then they've given out coffee mugs when students walk through the door. And then they've had a bartering session and let them barter and trade whatever they wanted. They attached more value to the pen, if that was what they were given, then obviously they would pay for the pen. So, if you weren't given the pen and you could have a pen or a coffee mug, and here's how much you'd pay for each. But if they gave you the pen beforehand, it's now worth more to you. Why? I really have no idea. And then close to the way, it's the status quo. You'd rather keep what you have. And again, that probably comes back to the fear of regret. You don't want to regret taking an action and having it turn out poorly. Not taking an action hurts less, so we don't take an action. How that works in business? It really works. We see it a lot with inherited stock. A lot of people want to keep the stock that they were given as opposed to change form. I get that a whole lot. Let's say you inherited an account, 90% of it was invested in an Exxon. A lot of people say this is the form it came to me in. I don't want to sell my Exxon stock because this is what I hold. This is what we've had in our family for years. There may not even be any tax consequences to selling it at this point because the deceased, you may have gotten a step up in cost basis. If I reframe the question, and I do this a lot when I'm talking to clients, reframe the question. Would you go out, if you had this in cash, and buy 90% Exxon? There's no way they do it. No way. There's very minimal transaction costs to trading that and getting into a more diversified portfolio. They wouldn't do it if it was in cash, but they'll do it because it's what they hold. It came to me in this form, I'm keeping it in this form. And it's really irrelevant at that point, but that's the way we frame it in our minds. So I try to reframe questions sometimes to have a client see it in a different light. Okay. And then reference points. These are just some examples of things we do poorly. You buy a stock at 50. Okay, 6 months later, or at the end of the year, it's at 100. You sell it 6 months later for $75. Do you feel good, or do you feel bad? Some people are saying good, some people are saying bad. A lot of us feel bad because we could have sold it at 100. We didn't. We could have though. All right. So I guess that's why my profession has a lot of heart attacks and burnouts, because we're always going to be wrong. I mean, you're never going to get the top, so you're basically setting yourself up for falling victim to this.
What if you sold it at 100 and then it went to 125? Would you have felt worse then? Same thing. Same.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the taking an action versus not taking action. Yeah, you're going to feel the same, I would think. Yes?
I bought Apple stock.
Uh-huh.
I sold it when it doubled, which was my goal.
There you go. And it kept going up, didn't it? Yeah. Yeah. I know. Well, now you know why you feel the way you feel. You want to smash every apple that you see. Okay. House money. How many of you guys, if I said right now, I'll give you $20, we'll bet $20 on the flip of a coin, how many people in here would take that bet? Flip of a coin, $20, even money. We've got 4 gamblers in the house. All right. Let's see if it's different. If I told you, you previously had won, I gave you 100, we gave each person $100 when they walked in. French wouldn't let me really do this experiment, but you previously had won $100. Now how many people are going to bet $20 on a coin flip? All right. Why does your answer change? Your money is your money. It doesn't matter what happened in the past. That $100 now belongs to you. It's not any separate, but we separate it. Okay? There's a very closely attached one, the snake biting trying to get even. And I remember I told y'all I coach. I had a kid, and he couldn't shoot. He was tall, so I was trying to make him play basketball. And he's like, "Coach, I must shoot a 3. I bet you $1 I make it." I was like, "Okay, I'll bet you $1." Well, then it was double or nothing. You know how the double or nothing works. Yeah. Everybody's played double or nothing. This kid got up to like $4 million. I mean, I thought I was going to be there all night before. He owed me $4 million, and he still was wanting double or nothing. I'm like, just make it. I mean, golly. If it was real money, I would have walked away at $4 million, I promise you. But anyway, if you previously lost 15, would you bet $5 on the flip of a coin? How many people are doing that? Even my gamblers? Any of my gamblers going to step up, say, "I've already lost 15. Are you going to bet 5? You're doing it? All right. What if I offered you double or nothing? How many people are in on double or nothing? One flip of a coin, you can get even. All right, so you're willing to bet more if you've previously lost money than you wouldn't bet 5, but you bet 15. All right, that's trying to get even. It doesn't work in the framework of rationality. It works very well. Everybody understands when you do this. I know when I've gone to a casino, if you win at the beginning, you separate that money, right? And then you're playing with house money. Everybody plays with house money. And then you can feel free to do whatever you want. Okay, here we go. Mental accounting. You save $15,000 towards your dream home. You hope to buy a home in 5 years. The money earns 5% in a money market account. This was a while back. You're not getting 5%. Yeah, French would. I'm surprised I don't have a disclaimer on this one. Earns 5% in a money market account. You just bought a car for $11,000, which you financed with a 3-year loan at 8%. How many people have done this? Come on, you've all done this. You've got a savings account that's paying you nothing, and you're paying a loan that pays you with a lot more interest. Everybody does this. We've accounted for these things. We've separated them. This is one set of money. This is a different set of money. You don't mix the monies. You know, they don't get along. You don't mix them up. So we've all done that. All right, just another interactive one. 6 months from now, you're planning to purchase a clothes washer and dryer for your new residence. 2 machines will cost $1,200. You have 2 financing options. You can either 6 monthly payments of $200 for the 6 months before it, so you're saving $200 a month until you get the washer and dryer, or they're offering that 6 months same as cash, so you're going to pay $200 a month after you get the washer and dryer for 6 months. How many people are choosing option A? You're going to save for the washer and dryer before you get the washer and dryer. Raise your hand, option A, people. There should be more of y'all in here because you guys are the savers of the world. How many people are choosing option B? Okay, most of us are choosing option B. I would even choose option B. And financially, option B makes more sense because that money is less costly to you in theory because inflation should go up and you should be able to, you know. Okay. Now, imagine you're planning to take a 1-week vacation to the Caribbean in 6 months. The vacation costs $1,200. You got 2 ways to pay for it. You can do it for the 6 months before the vacation, $200 a month. Option A, same option. Option B, 6 months after you return. How many people are choosing option A? A lot more. All right. Without the framing, it's the exact same question. Without the framing, it's if I did not frame that to you, you have an expenditure coming up in 6 months of $1,200. How are you saving for it? The framing makes the difference in how you guys voted and how everybody does. You don't want to pay for a vacation after you've already experienced it. You're getting the pleasure of the washer and dryer after you purchase it. Why am I going to save? So you want your matching cost to benefit in your mind. Okay? You're accounting for things in different ways. It's all money. Okay? Money's a tool. We don't use it as a tool. We tie emotions to it, and we account for it different ways, and we separate it in our head. We got the house money over here, and we got the inheritance money over here, and I inherited that stock, so that's the endowment effect. I'm going to keep that one because I know what it is. I don't want to sell my junk. I don't want your junk. I want my junk. Let's see. All right, and these are just some things we do. Different risk levels for different types of account. As a professional money manager, I try to incorporate some of this into how we manage the money. I mean, I know rationally speaking, we should do the same, we should do the most tax efficient thing for each, pot of money and consider the whole pot as one big pot. Try to look at everything as one big pot, but I know that there are a lot of individual investors that have it framed in their head. My retirement money's sacred. If I inherit some money, hey, that's free money to you. You want that in a separate account so that you can roll the dice and, buy an apple and hope it, continues to double. And, that's your play money. And then I'm getting the feedback every time I move. Windfall falls into that category. So we have a lot of people, they'll come and they're like, okay, we'll do this with all the money except this piece right here. I want to play with this over here, Money's money. And then we put labels on money. Everybody's done this. You got dirty money, the easy money, free money, bonus money. Every time I get a bonus, I spend it like twice. So it is good for the economy to give me a bonus, French. Vacation money, that's separate. House money, birthday money. I spend my birthday money more than once too. Yeah, any kind of money like that, it's a free-for-all. Not really, but so we put money labels on things. And I say this a lot. I really think that a lot of you guys would be better at managing my money than I would be because I do the exact same stuff. I think it's funny, but I still do it. I try not to, and I'm aware of it. And I think that's the whole point of me standing up here and talking to you guys, not to change the way you think. You're going to think the way you think. It's to work within that framework or acknowledge some of that framework and they are flaws in logic and rationality. I mean, it's a rational person. No economic person's going to model your thinking. It's impossible. We wish we could, but we can't. So that's why all these economic models we see always break down, because they're based on rational people. And maybe as a collective whole, that's what the assumption is. We'll all become rational. As a collective whole, we're all pretty dumb when it comes to the money decisions we make, because we tie so much emotionality into it. But, you know, I think I'd be better at managing it than you would your money. And that's, you know, it's not an indictment of how you manage. It's just sometimes it's easier to take a step back. I mean, I'm not as emotional about your money as you would be. I get paid to manage your money, so I get paid to do something rational with it. If I explain how I got excited about Apple when it doubled and put all my clients in there for 100%, you know, I don't think that's going to go over too well. So I get paid to kind of keep the emotions in check. But anyway, I think that's it. Yeah, I got through in time.